This film is republished from the Wonderful West of Oz, best original song for the Over the Rainbow, and we will talk about mise-en-scène to discuss the film called West of Oz. This film is an American music and the best original score. This is very important because it will be released with the first part of mise-en-scène I'm going to discuss is the costume. Our main character Dorothy was light blue dressing. We can see when she was over the rainbow that the Oz land appeared in the film. The frame is in color image that it doesn't look like the original sense like the beginning, which is in After Effects. When Dorothy was in her hometown, the color grading of the original sense is dark brown. You can't see the color of the costume. However, we can know the part of the costume that she was in a dress and she tied up her hair. The rule shows us she is a young farm girl and also she was with her puppy the whole time. That is provides her identity deeply. In the film art studies, the costume can present the identity and the background of the characters. The audience will give imagination to the role and then think about the personal story and adventure in the film. In the research, I found out the costume is worn by one actor as a specific character in a specific sense or sense in the story. Most importantly, the audience must believe that every person in a story has a life before the movie begins. There is a reason why I think the costume is one of the important parts of mise-en-scène. The key word of the conclusion in discussing is costume build up the character and help to tell the story in the film. It brings acting a better context for the role in the frame of the audience. For further research, I see the costume design process begin with the study the screenplay. Scripts describe the action, the time period, the location, and the characters in each sense. After reading the script, the costume designer meets with the directors to discuss the overall version for the film. Two different directors will make different movies from the same script. At the first meeting with the director, the costume designer may learn about the casting choice, or specific about the characterization, the overall color palette, and the mood of the film. Either later on, when the wooden house passes the Oz land, the citizen and the good feel they are in the colorful costume because the director was present. The happiness in the Oz and the kindness is in everywhere, and also the plot shows the people put the hope on Dorothy. This is the reason why everyone is nice to her. The second hand we can think about is dreamful and hopeful land is a dreamland in her heart. When she is singing over the rainbow. The song of the rainbow shows the place that it is similar to Oz. The costume designer of the film used the colorful color and the clothes pattern which usually is used in fairy film to the identity of the citizen in the Oz and giving the imagination to the audience.
In my own part, I will talking about the color gradings and lighting. In her real life, her hometown is generally shaped brown, in stark contrast to her crossing into the Wonderland. The song at the beginning of the movie, The Kingdom of the Heart, is different in color. One is to suppress no freedom, and the other is full of joy and democracy. Connected to the costume in mise-en-scène story has discussed, the characters of Dorothy is in colder temperature and dark light when she is in her hometown. Only after the fairyland, her overall character is more obvious. She wears a light blue dress to represent her young, fresh, and energetic image. The use of light blue also makes the overall light bright on her body. It has a certain similarity with the color and light of the residents' clothes. The director is also very clever in the use of the principle of the color harmony and contrast. The color palette of the clothes can be blended into the background. The overall background is green and very inclusive to bear the color of the other people's clothing. The overall use of the cold color LED symbolism. The voltage is low. According to my research, the overall shooting is taken into a large studio factory. The ceiling is illuminated by LED lighting from top to bottom, with a cynicism the way to highlight the overall staging. The background light of the characters is natural light, which forms a compare with the yellow after effect. But we can also note that when the character has a separate lens, in addition to the long shots, the camera and the director should have a separate LED. The setting and the side of the character adds extra shadow. When we study the completed body of the lighting and color grading, we can look at the light contrast of the shoot. We can see that the exposure contrast of the light can reflect the difference between the space and time. In the research, there are few sequences I think they are important from the film art. A brightly illuminated patch and draw our eye to a key gesture, while a shadow might conceal a detail or build up sequences about what may be present. The second point is highlights and shadow lighting shapes objects by creating highlights and shadows. When Dorothy's house fell into the sky, the image outside the window formed a square frame. The frame appeared in many unique characters, and the conflict between the wooden house and the characters out of the window had the difference of the time and space. In our opinion, the frame of the camera in the unfrozen camera movement, so that the shot of the house flying to the fairyland has a more vivid appearance. We went deep into the light. The light in the room was a balanced dark light. The light on the side face and shoulders of the she was in the dark. We can note that she did not use a lot of backlights, and the light that was formed outside the house was a weaker exposure brightens the overall color. In the last shot, there were black tiles and yellow tiles on the road in staging. These two colors have certain meanings in the story, which represent the right path for the Dorothy to choose her.
In this charming film based on a popular L. Frank Baum stories, Dorothy and her dog Toto were taken onto a path by a strong tornado and somehow end up in the land of Oz. Here she meets some memorable friends and toils in her journey to meet the Wizard of Oz, who everyone says can help her return home and possibly grant her new friends their goals of a brand, hurt, and courage. Now I would like to introduce the three most important shots in the scene we share with you. They are mostly shot in the scenes when Dorothy went to the Oz. The shot is in the long and mid shot that they are showing characters in the frame. But there are three special shots we can discuss deeply in the tornado scene in special effects. Firstly, there is a plot of strong wind blowing the door off of the wooden house using special effect of the tornado scene. After Dorothy hit by the window, she started a dream. The special effect of using smoke swirling around her head tells the audience that she's going into a dream state. The shot she's in the dream and spinning with the house is a middle close-up shot. The camera focused on Dorothy due to the director was trying to lead the audience closer and hence they can image and feel Dorothy's fantastic. This shot shows a bat spinning around with Dorothy on it as a tornado takes her to Oz. The camera is set as a medium close range, but is panned around as the bat is raised and lowered to give the effect of tornado tossing the house in a circular motion. Very creative cinematography for 1930. In this shot, the mean neighbor riding a bicycle changes into a witch riding a broom, foreshadowing what to come. This shot, the double exposure of neighbor transforms them into a witch. The focus is shot on the neighbor, but during the transition to a witch, it's taken out of focus and then back in focus on the image of the witch, which adds in the illusion of the transformation between the two. I am going to talk about the sound in the scenes as well. According to the genre of the film, it's a musical fantasy film. The characters present the dialogue and the story by performing musical. An internationally popular film genre, featuring music, song, and dance in varying combinations, often intertwined with a romance plot with a happy. Overall, the sound used in the movie was good. and it helped to create the overall feeling and development of the characteristics. Although sometimes the sound can be exaggerated with the background music, it was still beneficial. If the diegetic dialogue had not been used, the movie may have been a silent film that would not have created the right type of feel, and for the movie and the audience would not have connected as much. The sound effects also help to create the mood and help the audience to hear how things sound in the movie that they might not have known otherwise.